The courtroom lights burned white as she swaggered in, the police chief's daughter, chin high, smile sharp enough to cut the silence. She looked Judge Judy dead in the eyes and laughed. "Move, you old idiot woman," she snapped, loud enough for every camera to catch. Gasps rippled. Even the bailiff froze. 40 seconds later, that same girl was on the floor, screaming, electricity snapping through the air, and the real shock had not even started yet. The echo of her insult still trembles in the air as the bailiff straightens, unsure whether to step in or wait for the judge's signal. Alyssa, chin high, eyes glittering with inherited confidence, savors the attention like it is oxygen. Judge Judy has not moved, but the entire room feels the shift around her. The courtroom lights hum softly, casting a cold, steady glow over the moment she has just detonated. People are still processing the words she flung so casually, so venomously, toward the bench. Old idiot woman. The kind of insult that would end careers, silence rooms, and ignite headlines, yet she delivered it with a smirk, meant for cameras, not consequences. Alyssa's heels click once against the tile as she shifts her weight, planting herself like someone expecting applause. Her hair is perfect, her makeup immaculate, her confidence almost theatrical. She carries herself like the world has already forgiven her for everything she has not yet done. In her mind, this place is not a courtroom. It is a stage. Across the room, the plaintiff, the grocery store clerk who endured her outburst weeks earlier, sits small and composed, hands clasped tightly around her handwritten statement. She does not look at Alyssa. She stares at her own paper as though the words themselves might give her strength. The trembling in her fingers gives her away. Judge Judy observes all of this without a word. Her face remains still, but something subtle shifts in her posture. A tilt of the chin, a narrowing of the eyes, a controlled inhale that carries more power than a shout. She has seen arrogance. She has seen entitlement. But she has not seen this, a girl weaponizing her father's badge like a birthright. The bailiff finally steps forward, slow and measured, like someone approaching a lit fuse. Alyssa sees him move and laughs again, shorter, sharper, more brittle than before. "Do not touch me," she warns, a smile stretching wider than her confidence. I said what I said. She needed to hear it. Her voice rings out too loudly, like she is performing for a room that exists only in her imagination. In the real room, people shift uncomfortably. The tension thickens, heavy and unmoving, like the air before a storm breaks. Judge Judy's hands rest calmly atop the bench, her fingertips aligned. She has not yet spoken, but her silence is louder than any rebuke. Alyssa stares at her, expecting a reaction. When she gets none, her smirk falters, just slightly. "You're not going to say anything?" Alyssa snorts. "Figures." The clerk flinches at the sound of Alyssa's voice. The bailiff's jaw tightens. Every camera leans closer. Finally, Judge Judy lifts her gaze. No raise of voice, no anger, just a level, dissecting stare that strips Alyssa of every illusion of superiority. "Alyssa," she says, her tone calm enough to cut steel, "please step forward." Alyssa folds her arms. "Make me." The bailiff stops in place, waiting. Alyssa tilts her head and smirks at him. "Touch me," she whispers, "and you lose your badge." The bailiff freezes mid-step, caught between duty and a threat that could destroy him. The bailiff's hesitation hangs in the air like a held breath, and Alyssa feels it immediately. Her smirk sharpens into something predatory. Judge Judy's eyes narrow, not in anger but in calculation. The entire courtroom seems to tilt toward the standoff, the fluorescent lights humming louder as if they sense the pressure mounting. Alyssa steps forward half an inch, enough to reclaim the spotlight she thinks she owns. Her posture says everything. I win simply because I say I do. "Are we done pretending he can touch me?" she asks, sweeping a hand toward the bailiff. "Because the cameras are rolling, and I would love the world to see how you people treat the daughter of a decorated police chief." She tosses her hair over her shoulder, the gesture polished from years of getting what she wants simply by demanding it. Her voice carries a confidence that feels less like strength and more like a shield she desperately hopes no one sees through. Judge Judy finally sits back in her chair, posture poised with absolute authority. She does not raise her voice. She does not threaten. She simply says, "State your name for the record." Alyssa laughs, a soft, mocking exhale. "Oh, come on, you know my name." The judge does not blink. "The court requires it." "Alyssa Monroe, happy now?" The courtroom clerk types the name with quick, nervous keystrokes. Meanwhile, the bailiff straightens, regaining a fraction of the control he momentarily lost. Judy continues, her voice calm but edged with steel. "Miss Monroe, this courtroom does not revolve around your surname, nor does it fear it." A murmur ripples through the audience. Alyssa lifts her chin higher. "You should," she replies, her tone dipped in insinuation, "because people who cross my father tend to regret it." The plaintiff, the quiet grocery clerk, shifts uncomfortably. Her eyes drop to her statement again, but her breathing is uneven now, the emotional weight of this case rising with every arrogant word Alyssa unleashes. Judge Judy gestures subtly. "Let us hear from the plaintiff." The clerk rises, voice trembling but determined. She recounts Alyssa's tantrum at the store, the shouting, the shoving, the threats to shut down the place. Alyssa interrupts within seconds. "That is a lie. She provoked me. She was rude, incompetent, unprofessional." "Miss Monroe," Judy cuts in, tone still unshaken. "You will have your chance to speak." Alyssa scoffs loudly. "You will not silence me. No one silences me." But the tremble in her voice betrays something she did not intend to show. The bailiff takes one step forward, slow, deliberate, like the room itself is guiding him. Alyssa straightens. "Touch me, and we will see who loses their job first." Judge Judy finally leans forward, her hands knitting together. "Miss Monroe, every word you speak is being recorded and can be used to evaluate your credibility." "Good," Alyssa snaps. "Let the world hear me." Judge Judy lifts a single eyebrow. "Then let us begin with the truth," she says. Alyssa freezes, as if the word truth is the one thing she is not prepared to face. The laughter dies too quickly this time, cut off not by judgment but by something inside Alyssa herself. Her breath stumbles, barely noticeable, but the camera catches it. Judge Judy notices too. The courtroom seems to exhale as the tension shifts, subtle but unmistakable. Alyssa, moments ago a swirling storm of entitlement, now looks like someone trying to keep her footing on a floor that has begun to tilt. Her smirk returns, but it is thinner, painted on rather than grown from confidence. Judge Judy signals to the clerk, "Play the first video." A screen flickers to life. The grocery store aisle appears, narrow, cluttered, quiet. Then Alyssa bursts into frame, loud, aggressive, pointing, jabbing her finger toward the clerk. Her voice crackles over the speakers. "You do not tell me no. Do you know who my father is?" The courtroom watches. Alyssa watches herself, and that, perhaps, is the first real blow. "That video is edited," she snaps. "Obviously edited. Look at the angle. Who even films like that?" "The store's security system," Judy replies calmly. Alyssa rolls her eyes too hard. "Right, of course. How convenient." The plaintiff trembles slightly but holds her composure. She looks at Alyssa, not with anger, but with the quiet exhaustion of someone who has carried fear longer than she should have. Judy turns toward Alyssa. "Miss Monroe, please describe what happened that day." Alyssa flips her hair behind her shoulder again, defiant, desperate. "She was rude to me. She ignored me. She acted like she didn't care who I was." "And why should she have cared?" Alyssa blinks. The question lands harder than intended. Because she..." Alyssa stops. Her jaw clenches. "It does not matter. She provoked me." The clerk whispers, barely audible. "I just asked her to wait." Alyssa snaps toward her. "Liar!" "Miss Monroe," Judy warns, but Alyssa barrels ahead anyway. "She is lying. This whole thing is blown out of proportion because everyone wants to make an example out of me, because of who my father is, because I am not afraid to speak my mind." Judy leans forward slightly. "Speaking your mind is not the issue. Your actions are." A beat of silence. Alyssa's chest rises and falls too quickly. Her foot taps against the floor, tiny, frantic, rhythmic. A small tremor she cannot hide. Her first real tell. Judy's voice softens, just barely. Why are you so defensive today? Alyssa scoffs again, but it comes out as more breath than sound. I am not defensive. Her eyes dart to the camera, then to the bailiff, then to the door. For a moment, the room sees her, not the persona, but the panic beneath the shine. Judy's gaze cuts through her. Then answer the question, slowly. Alyssa swallows, hard. The courtroom holds still, waiting. Her lips part. A word forms, but nothing comes out. Alyssa stares at Judge Judy, frozen mid-sentence. For the first time, she seems afraid of her own voice. Something inside her is cracking, and everyone feels it. The camera zooms in on Alyssa's face, her confidence slipping like sand through shaking fingers. A single flicker of fear crosses her eyes. Judge Judy sees it and moves in. The courtroom air thickens, heavy with anticipation. Alyssa stands rigid, arms crossed, as if the posture alone can keep her rapidly dismantling world intact. She swallows once, audible, sharp. Her eyes dart again to the door, then to the judge, then to the folder resting on the bench. The same folder she assumed held nothing dangerous. Judge Judy taps it lightly with one fingertip, the paper inside rustling like a warning. Miss Monroe, she says, voice steady as a drawn line, you insisted the footage was edited and that you never invoked your father that night. I didn't, Alyssa mutters too quickly. People misheard. Judy nods slowly, as if humoring a child. Then she gestures toward the bailiff. Bring in the next witness. The side door opens with a soft creak. An off-duty officer, still in civilian clothing, badge clipped discreetly inside his jacket, steps forward. His shoulders are tense, but there is a quiet resolve in his posture. He avoids eye contact with Alyssa at first, as if bracing for the storm. Alyssa's jaw drops. What is he doing here? The officer clears his throat. I was in the store that night. I saw the incident. No, you didn't, Alyssa snaps. You were in the parking lot. You said you didn't see anything. He meets her gaze now, and the tremor in her voice grows louder. You said you wouldn't get involved. His expression is pained. I said I didn't want to get involved, but I didn't say I didn't see what happened. A murmur ripples through the courtroom like a slow-building wave. Judy's voice is calm, surgical. Officer, tell us exactly what you witnessed. He exhales through his nose. She threatened the clerk. She shoved merchandise off the counter, and she said, call your little manager. My father can have this whole place shut down. Alyssa's eyes flare, wide with disbelief. You're lying. But her voice cracks so sharply that even she hears it. The officer continues, tone steady. She also said she could get officers fired. Specifically, she said she could have me fired. The courtroom gasps. Even the clerk looks up, startled by the weight of the revelation. Alyssa stumbles a half step backward. I didn't. You're twisting. This is a setup. Judy raises a single hand, silencing the spiraling excuses. Her voice drops lower, colder. Miss Monroe, you claimed earlier that you never invoked your father, that no threats were made, that everyone else fabricated your behavior. Alyssa presses a palm to her forehead, as if trying to hold her composure together. People hate me because of who I am. They're jealous. Jealousy, Judy interrupts, does not create audio recordings. Alyssa freezes. A flash of pure alarm crosses her face. Judy lifts the folder and opens it slowly, the sound crisp as a blade sliding free. Inside rests a slim device. Alyssa's breathing catches. Judy tilts the device toward her. Then explain this, she says. Alyssa's knees nearly buckle, as if the truth itself just called her bluff. The audio ends in a cold, metallic click that seems to echo inside Alyssa's ribcage. No one speaks. Even the cameras hesitate, as if unsure where to point in the wreckage of her unraveling. Alyssa stands frozen, eyes wide, chest rising and falling too fast for someone still trying to look unbothered. The device in Judge Judy's hand glints under the courtroom lights, a small object holding a truth too heavy for her to outrun. That recording, her own voice dripping with entitlement, hangs in the silence like a verdict not yet spoken. That is fake, Alyssa manages, though her voice shakes like a loose hinge in a storm. It has to be. Judge Judy closes the folder calmly, as if sealing away the last remains of Alyssa's defense. Miss Monroe, she says, the easiest lie to disprove is the one told in a room full of witnesses. Alyssa's gaze skitters across the gallery. Strangers stare at her, not with envy, as she imagines they should, but with disbelief. Some with disappointment, some with anger, but none with the admiration she always expects. Her mask slips further. The bailiff stands straighter now, freed from the hesitation she forced upon him earlier. His posture alone sends a message. The balance of power has shifted. Alyssa feels it. Her fingers twitch at her sides. Judge Judy continues in a measured tone. You have insisted repeatedly that you never invoked your father's status. This recording proves otherwise. Alyssa's hands rise defensively. I was upset. Anyone would have said something like that. No, Judy replies sharply. Not anyone, only someone who believes they are untouchable. The clerk, quiet, trembling, brave in her simplicity, speaks softly. She scared me. She told me she could ruin my life. Alyssa whips around. I did not say that. But the room knows she did. The audio already told the story better than she ever could. The bailiff shifts closer to the bench, sensing the rapid decline of Alyssa's control. Her breath comes faster, matching the tremor in her voice. Yet she still tries, desperately clinging to performance. You are all against me, she says, laughing without humor, because of who I am, because you know my father is powerful. Judy's gaze sharpens. Your father's power is irrelevant here. Your actions are the only things under evaluation. Alyssa's face drains of color. A single beat passes where she seems to understand, truly understand, how isolated she is. What does my father have to do with any of this? She asks quietly, though the bravado lingers like smoke. Judy folds her hands. That is what I intend to find out. The tension thickens again, but now it coils around Alyssa, not the court. She stares at Judy, her voice shrinking. You do not know anything about my dad. Something fragile breaks in her tone, fear hidden beneath years of borrowed power. Judge Judy leans in slightly, eyes unblinking. Then enlighten me, she says. And Alyssa's lips tremble, not with anger this time, but with something dangerously close to truth. Alyssa's bravado collapses into a thin, trembling inhale, barely controlled, barely concealed. Judge Judy sees it. The courtroom feels it. The shift is unmistakable now. No longer is Alyssa the untouchable, self-crowned princess of the courtroom. Her posture falters, her shoulders no longer squared, but curling inward, as if the truth itself has weight. The lights overhead hum steadily, washing her in a harsh glow that exposes every crack she tried to hide. Judge Judy turns toward the clerk. Please return to the stand. The clerk rises carefully, smoothing her skirt, her hands still trembling around her statement. But something is different this time. There is a steadiness in her eyes. She has found her voice, not through anger, but through necessity. Alyssa watches her, chin lifted as if trying to reclaim height she no longer has. But her foot taps uncontrollably. Her eyes dart to the side as though she is searching for a way out, an escape hatch her father used to provide. The clerk begins speaking, her voice fragile but clear. She kept yelling that she could shut down the store, that she could have us fired. She said we were beneath her. Alyssa snaps forward. I said no such thing. Judge Judy lifts a single hand, the gesture small but commanding. Miss Monroe, you will remain silent unless addressed. Alyssa's jaw works, teeth clenched, hands trembling at her sides. The bailiff shifts subtly closer to her, no longer afraid, no longer hesitant. The room's allegiance has turned. The clerk continues, gaining strength with every word. After she broke the display, she started recording herself. She said she wanted everyone to remember this moment, that she was done asking nicely. A murmur ripples through the gallery. Alyssa's voice cracks. You are twisting everything. Judge Judy turns to her with a steady, chilling calm. Miss Monroe, this witness is under oath. You are not. The line hits like a scalpel. Precise. Deadly. Alyssa's breath quickens. You are all trying to make me look crazy. Miss Monroe, Judy replies, no one here is making you look anything. We are simply watching. Alyssa's face shifts, anger melting into panic, then flickering back to arrogance like a strobe light losing power. She is unraveling not because her lies are exposed, but because the performance is failing and she does not know who she is without it. Judy folds her hands. Let us talk about the other incidents. Alyssa freezes. What incidents? Judy's tone stays calm. Reports of similar outbursts at local businesses. Entitlement, threats, destruction of property. Alyssa shakes her head violently. Those were misunderstandings. The clerk looks at her, sadness softening her features. People were scared of you. Alyssa flinches, as though the words sting more deeply than any accusation. Judge Judy leans in, voice dropping to a near whisper. Miss Monroe, you have been protected for a very long time, have you not? Alyssa's breath catches. For a moment, just a moment, her eyes reveal the truth before her mouth can disguise it. Yes. But she forces out a brittle laugh. Protected? You have no idea. Judge Judy studies her, the silence stretching into something almost tender, almost tragic. Alyssa, she says quietly, who are you without your father's shield? Alyssa's lips part, but no answer comes. Tell me in the comments, if you were sitting in that courtroom, would you speak up or stay silent? Alyssa's silence is louder than any outburst she has thrown today. The courtroom watches her, waiting for the next crack, and when she finally lifts her head, her eyes are no longer defiant, they are searching. The shift is almost imperceptible, like a drop in temperature. But everyone feels it. Alyssa stands smaller now, shoulders no longer thrown back in arrogance, but curled inward as if bracing for impact. Her breathing is shallow, her fingers twitch against her thigh, tapping out a rhythm she cannot control. Judge Judy does not pounce. She waits, letting silence do the heavy lifting. It always does. Bring forward the additional documentation, Judy says finally. The clerk approaches with a stack of papers and a thin folder marked with incident numbers. The sound of the folder landing on the bench is quiet, yet it lands like a gavel. Alyssa stiffens. What is that? You cannot just pull random complaints and act like they are real. Judy opens the folder slowly, each page turning like the peeling of a mask. These are statements from 3 separate businesses in the last 18 months, all describing a young woman threatening staff with her father's position. That is not me, Alyssa blurts, too fast, too loud. But the panic in her tone betrays her before the words can even land. Judy's eyes lift. Are you certain? Alyssa swallows, then nods, but the nod falters halfway, a stuttering motion filled with doubt she cannot hide. The plaintiff watches her with a mixture of empathy and caution. She is not there to gloat, she is there because she was hurt. And she can see now that Alyssa is beginning to understand the weight of that hurt. The courtroom murmurs softly as Judy reads brief excerpts, nothing sensationalized, just matter-of-fact descriptions of behavior Alyssa can no longer deny. Her face reddens, her breathing accelerates. Stop, Alyssa whispers, barely audible. Just stop. Judy closes the file gently. Miss Monroe, this is not an attack on your character. It is a reflection of your actions. Alyssa shakes her head violently. You do not understand. None of you understand what it is like. People look at me and see my father, not me. They think... Her voice catches, her breath fractures. She clamps her mouth shut. Judy leans forward, tone soft but immovable. Then who are you, Alyssa? Tell the court. The question hangs in the air like a spotlight. Alyssa blinks rapidly, her mascara trembling on lashes she painted with carefully constructed confidence. The performance is failing. The facade is dissolving. She opens her mouth. But a knock on the courtroom door slices the moment cleanly in half. The bailiff steps aside as the door creaks open. A figure stands there, someone Alyssa did not expect, someone who draws every ounce of color from her face. The deputy chief, her father's second in command. Her breath stops. He steps into the room slowly, eyes heavy with something far more devastating than anger. Alyssa, he says quietly, we need to talk about what happened that night. and Alyssa's knees nearly buckle. The deputy chief's footsteps echo like a slow countdown. Alyssa's posture collapses inch by inch as he approaches. For the first time today, she looks genuinely afraid. The courtroom shifts as he enters, not because of his rank, but because of the expression on his face, a worn, heavy mixture of regret and inevitability. He closes the door behind him with a gentle click that sounds far too final for Alyssa's comfort. Judge Judy nods to him with the neutrality of someone who has already anticipated this moment. "Deputy Chief Ramirez, you may approach." Alyssa's breath quivers. "Where is my dad?" she whispers. But Ramirez hears her anyway. "He is not coming," he says, and the words land like a blow to her spine. Alyssa steps back as though struck. He told me he would always," he said. Ramirez lifts a hand, not to silence her, but to steady the space between them. His voice carries exhaustion rather than anger. "Your father cannot protect you from this." The gallery stiffens. Even the cameras seem to hold still. Judge Judy folds her hands on the bench. "Deputy Chief, please share your statement with the court." Ramirez clears his throat. "We received multiple complaints about Miss Monroe's behavior over the last year. Threats, abuse of authority, attempted interference with police actions." Alyssa recoils. "That is not interference. I was trying to make things right. People lie about me because they hate cops." "People lied about you?" Ramirez repeats softly. "Alyssa, you used your father's name to intimidate civilians, to intimidate officers. You threatened my job." Alyssa's voice drops to a whisper. "I didn't mean it. But the truth is already out, floating between them like a fragile, broken thing." Judge Judy's gaze sharpens. "Miss Monroe claimed earlier she never invoked her father, but this testimony contradicts her repeatedly." Alyssa shakes her head wildly, hair clinging to her cheek. "You're all betraying me, all of you. Why are you doing this?" Ramirez steps closer. His voice softens, but the softness hurts more. "Because it has gone too far, because people are getting hurt, because you are getting hurt." Alyssa's breathing stutters. The courtroom that once amplified her ego now feels unbearably small. Every eye on her is a mirror reflecting the truth she tried so hard to outrun. Judge Judy leans forward. "Deputy Chief, is there more the court needs to know?" Ramirez hesitates, just long enough for quiet dread to settle over the room. "Yes," he says. "There is." Alyssa's knees wobble. "Please don't." But he continues anyway, because the truth has waited too long to breathe. "There is another recording," he says. "One made after she left the store moments before the taser incident." The courtroom grows impossibly still. Alyssa's lips part, trembling. You said that was gone. You said—" Ramirez's eyes drop, heavy with remorse. "I said your father did not want it released." Alyssa's voice breaks. Why would he hide it?" The answer he gives is not a blow, not a strike, but a quiet, devastating truth. "Because he could not protect you from it." Alyssa sways on her feet as the gallery whispers. Ramirez reaches into his jacket, and the courtroom braces for the recording that will shatter what little remains of her image. Alyssa's face drains of color the moment Ramirez reaches into his jacket. Her breath stumbles, her shoulders shaking as though the room suddenly tilted beneath her. The courtroom watches her unravel in real time. If arrogance was her armor before, now it lies shattered at her feet. Alyssa grips the edge of the defendant's table as if the wood itself could anchor her to a collapsing reality. The murmurs in the gallery swirl like wind around a weakening flame. Ramirez pulls out a slim device, similar to the last one, but heavier with implication. Alyssa stares at it as though it were a weapon aimed directly at her. "Don't," she whispers. "Please don't play it." Judge Judy does not raise her voice. She never needs to. "Deputy Chief, does the recording pertain to the events under review?" "Yes," he answers, eyes fixed on the table, voice heavy. "It shows what happened immediately before the taser was deployed." A ripple of tension rolls through the courtroom. Alyssa shakes her head violently. "You're lying. You said it was gone. You promised my dad." Her breath catches on the word dad, cracking it open like a wound. Her mascara smudges at the edges as panic rises in uneven waves across her face. Ramirez closes his eyes briefly. When he opens them, guilt sits in the corners. Your father asked that it be withheld because he did not want the department to face public scrutiny, not because it would help you. Alyssa stares at him as though he has spoken a foreign language. Judge Judy studies her, not with cruelty, but with a piercing clarity. Miss Monroe, do you understand what he is saying? Alyssa doesn't answer. Her lips tremble, her foot taps faster, her eyes dart wildly, door, gallery, camera, floor, as though trying to find a version of the world where this is not happening to her. The clerk watches her too, a sorrow in her expression that feels almost parental. Not pity, a recognition of someone finally facing the truth she spent years avoiding. Judy leans slightly forward. Miss Monroe, you told this court your father always protected you. Alyssa nods once, shaky. And now you see that he did not protect you from this. Alyssa blinks rapidly, each blink a fracture. He couldn't come today because he's busy, she insists weakly. He told me, he said. Her voice shatters. Ramirez steps closer, expression solemn. Alyssa, your father is not busy, he's ashamed. And he told Internal Affairs that he wanted the truth handled properly this time. The gallery gasps. Alyssa's knees buckle. The bailiff moves, gently steadying her arm, not restraining her, but keeping her from collapsing entirely. She exhales in a broken sob. No, he wouldn't. He promised me. He always promised. Judge Judy lets the silence settle, giving the truth room to breathe. Then, softly, sometimes promises protect the wrong things. Alyssa covers her mouth with both hands, shoulders shaking, her entire identity cracking open like glass under pressure. Ramirez places the device on the evidence table. No one speaks. The air is suffocating. Judy nods once. Play the recording. Alyssa's scream, raw, terrified, echoes through the courtroom. Do you believe remorse should ever lighten accountability? Or does justice demand consequences, no matter how sorry someone becomes? The audio device clicks on, and every muscle in the courtroom tenses. Alyssa's hands clamp over her ears, but she can still hear it. Her own voice, seconds before everything went violently wrong. The recording begins with the chaotic shuffle of footsteps and distant shouting. It is nighttime. Wind lashes through the speakers, the kind that rattles across empty parking lots. Then, a sharp, guttural scream. Alyssa's scream. The courtroom jolts as her recorded voice erupts again, ragged and furious. Don't touch me! I said don't touch me! Alyssa squeezes her eyes shut as if that could silence the sound. But the past plays on, merciless and indifferent. The audio continues with the bailiff's calm voice, steady, professional. Miss Monroe, stop! You need to stop! Then her voice rises, wild and panicked. My father will end you! Do you hear me? End your career, end everything! Gasps ripple across the room, even the cameras seem to lurch forward. Alyssa clutches the edge of the table, shaking her head violently. That sounds worse than it's not. But Judge Judy raises a hand, eyes unblinking. Let it play. The next part is unmistakable. Alyssa rushing toward someone, the microphone crackling with movement. The bailiff's voice strains, Stop! Do not touch me! A fierce rustle. Something crashes. Alyssa shrieks, unintelligible rage spilling into the dark. Then comes the unmistakable moment. The taser pops, a quick electric snap. Alyssa screams again as she hits the pavement with a sickening thud. The courtroom flinches as one. Alyssa folds into herself, tears streaking mascara down her cheeks. Stop it, please, stop it. But the recording isn't done. From the speaker comes her broken, breathless voice, quivering through pain and disbelief. You can't do this to me. My father will fix this. And in the background, Ramirez's voice, low and grim. Not this time. The recording ends. Silence swallows the room whole. Judge Judy sits back slowly, letting the weight of the truth settle like dust on a battlefield. Miss Monroe, she says, with a calmness sharp enough to cut. This is the version of events you failed to mention. Alyssa wipes at her face with trembling hands, smearing mascara across her palms. I was scared, she whispers. He grabbed me. The bailiff steps forward gently. Miss Monroe, I didn't grab you. I reached out to stop you from hitting me. Alyssa's chest heaves. Her eyes dart wildly, searching for some foothold of justification that no longer exists. Judge Judy's voice softens, not in sympathy, but in clarity. Fear does not excuse the abuse of power, Miss Monroe, and it does not explain the threats you made. Alyssa swallows hard. I didn't mean them, she says. But the room can hear doubt in her own words. Ramirez takes one step closer. Alyssa, this is why your father didn't come today. She looks at him through wet lashes. Because he's ashamed of me? He hesitates, just long enough to tell her the answer. No, he says softly. Because he's afraid of what comes next. Alyssa's breath stops, and Judge Judy leans forward, ready to uncover the truth buried beneath her unraveling. Alyssa's breathing fractures into uneven, desperate gulps as she clings to the last thread of her identity. Judge Judy watches her, not with anger, but with the precision of someone peeling back armor to reveal the wound underneath. And the wound is finally bleeding through. The courtroom is still, thick with the aftermath of the recording. Alyssa stands, trembling, mascara streaking like war paint down her cheeks. The girl who strutted in with entitlement now looks like someone trying to hold back a flood with bare hands. Judge Judy's voice is steady. Miss Monroe, look at me. Alyssa does, and her eyes are raw, flickering with something dangerously close to truth. You told this court that you were scared, Judy says, but fear alone doesn't create this pattern. The threats, the entitlement, the outbursts. So I'll ask plainly, what were you really trying to protect that night? Alyssa opens her mouth, but nothing comes. Only a thin, choked breath escapes. Judy doesn't push. She waits. She lets silence do what confrontation cannot. Alyssa's voice emerges in a whisper. I didn't want to be humiliated. The courtroom leans in. I didn't want more videos of me online, she says, swallowing hard. Every time something happens, they post about it, about me, about my father. I just wanted it to stop. Judy's gaze softens. By threatening people? Alyssa's shoulders collapse. I thought, if I acted tough, if I acted in control, people wouldn't see how scared I was. Her words crack open something deeper. I'm not strong, she confesses. I never have been. My dad always handled things, always fixed things. I just copied him. Ramirez looks down, guilt folding into the lines of his face. Alyssa wipes her cheeks with shaking fingers. But he stopped showing up, at home, at anything. He doesn't talk to me unless I've screwed something up. Unless he needs to yell. The gallery murmurs, not in judgment but in recognition of the human undercurrent her arrogance had disguised. She presses a hand to her chest. When people look at me, they don't see me. They see him. They think I'm powerful. But I'm not. I'm just... Her voice cracks like thin ice. I'm just trying not to disappear. Judge Judy leans in slightly, her voice quieter than the fluorescent hum overhead. And hurting others made you feel like you existed? Alyssa nods once, collapsing under the weight of the truth she's avoided for years. I didn't want to feel invisible, she whispers. I didn't want to feel like nothing. A hush blankets the courtroom. Even the cameras hesitate. Judge Judy studies her, really studies her, and then says softly, Alyssa, there is something else you're not telling me. Alyssa freezes. Her lips press together. Her throat tightens. Her eyes dart to Ramirez, then to the device still sitting on the table, then downward. Judge Judy's voice is gentle, but unyielding. What did your father say to you before today's hearing? Alyssa flinches, tears well again. He told me not to come, she whispers. The gallery stirs. Judy holds her gaze. Why? Alyssa hesitates, but only for a moment, because this is the one truth she can no longer hide. He said he couldn't protect me this time, she cries, and that he didn't want to try. The room falls silent as twist number 3 detonates beneath her feet. Alyssa's confession hangs in the air like a broken cord that refuses to resolve. Her breath rattles, her shoulders trembling under a weight she can no longer pretend she doesn't feel. Judge Judy sits perfectly still, letting the truth settle like dust over a battlefield. Silence washes through the courtroom, thick and unmoving. The kind of silence that follows explosions, not from the blast itself, but from the realization of what it destroyed. Alyssa presses her palms flat against the table, head bowed, strands of hair falling over her shaking face. There is no arrogance left, no smirk, no defiant flare of ego, only the raw ache of a girl who finally spoke the truth she's been running from. The clerk watches her with soft, hesitant empathy. The fear she once felt toward Alyssa lingers, yes, but now it mixes with something unexpected: recognition. Recognition of someone who never learned how to carry their own weight. Judge Judy clears her throat gently, a sound not meant to intimidate, but to guide the moment forward. "Miss Monroe," she says, her voice steady and low, "look at me." Alyssa lifts her head slowly. Her eyes are red-rimmed, swollen, tired. The kind of tired that doesn't come from lack of sleep, but from years of pretending she was someone she wasn't. "What your father told you," Judy continues, "was not a rejection of you. It was a rejection of the behavior that has brought us here today." Alyssa's lip quivers. "He said he couldn't protect me. He always protected me." Ramirez shifts, guilt etched deep into the lines around his eyes. "Because he wasn't helping you," he says quietly. "He was enabling you." Alyssa flinches at the word. Enabling. It lands heavier than accusation, heavier even than the evidence played earlier, because it speaks to something beyond guilt. It speaks to the architecture of her life. The clerk takes a small breath, then whispers, "Sometimes the things people do to protect us hurt us the most." Alyssa looks at her, bewildered. The plaintiff, the woman she screamed at, threatened, humiliated, is offering her not condemnation, but understanding. That irony stings like salt on an open wound. "My father wasn't supposed to give up on me," Alyssa murmurs, voice cracking. "Even when I messed up, even when I acted out." Judy's tone softens, a rare warmth threading through the steel. "Your father didn't give up on you, Alyssa. He's allowing consequences to do what he could not." Alyssa trembles. "I didn't want consequences. I just wanted him." The vulnerability in her voice ripples across the courtroom, turning strangers into witnesses of something more intimate than legal testimony. It is the quiet confession of a child still waiting for a parent's approval. A truth she has never spoken aloud, not to the world, not to her father, not even to herself. Judy lets the moment breathe. "Miss Monroe," she says gently, "this is not the end of your story, but it is the moment where you decide what the next chapter becomes." Alyssa nods slowly, more out of exhaustion than resolve. But it is a nod nonetheless. Ramirez steps forward, his voice soft. "Alyssa, we're here now, and we'll deal with this honestly. Together." Her chin quivers. She nods again. "Judge," Ramirez says quietly, "there are steps the department will need to take." Judy meets his gaze, unflinching. "Then let's begin with accountability." The courtroom feels heavier now, as though the truth itself has weight. Alyssa wipes her face with trembling fingertips, waiting for judgment she can no longer outrun. Judge Judy straightens the documents before her, an unspoken signal that the reckoning is about to begin. Ramirez steps forward, voice low and steady. "Judge, the department has reviewed preliminary details. Internal Affairs is aware of Miss Monroe's conduct and her father's role in prior incidents. There will be consequences." Alyssa's breath catches. She grips the edge of the table as if the wood might anchor her to a world suddenly shifting beneath her feet. "No," she whispers. "Please, not him. This is my fault, not his." The words surprise even her. A flicker of responsibility, small, faint, but real, breaks through the wreckage of her bravado. Judge Judy nods. "Accountability does not mean destruction, Miss Monroe. It means transparency. It means facing the truth rather than escaping it. Alyssa tilts her head down, shoulders folding inward. He's all I have, she says softly. If he loses his job because of me, Ramirez shakes his head. Your father won't lose his job over this, but he will be questioned, and he'll have to answer honestly. He understands that. Alyssa's eyes glisten. Does he hate me? Ramirez hesitates. No, but he's afraid of what protecting you has turned you into. Alyssa's mouth falls slightly open at the words, not wounded, but stunned, as if no one has ever spoken that truth to her directly. Judge Judy, tone firm but not unkind, continues. We need to discuss civil accountability, the damage to the store, the emotional distress for the clerk, your actions toward the officer. Alyssa nods weakly. I'll pay it, she murmurs. Whatever, I'll pay all of it. Judy raises a brow. Financial restitution is only one piece. You also need behavioral counseling, intervention, structure. Alyssa swallows hard. I'll do it. The plaintiff, the gentle, shaken clerk, lifts her eyes. Her voice trembles but her courage holds. Judge, she whispers, I don't want her life ruined. I just wanted her to understand what she did. Alyssa looks at her, not with scorn, not with superiority, but with something like astonishment. You were afraid of me, Alyssa says quietly. The clerk nods, tears rising. Yes. Alyssa inhales sharply, a breath that cuts through her chest. I'm sorry, she whispers, barely louder than a breath. The words aren't polished, they aren't elegant, they aren't even confident, but they are real, and the courtroom reacts, not with applause, not with sentimentality, but with a softening, a shift in air pressure, as though the room recognizes the fragile beginning of accountability. Judge Judy leans forward. Miss Monroe, an apology matters only when followed by change. Alyssa nods again, more firmly this time. I know, I will. Ramirez places a hand on the table near her, not touching her, but steadying the space beside her, reminding her she isn't alone in the fallout. We'll get through this, he murmurs. But we're doing it the right way. Alyssa exhales shakily, as though releasing years of pressure she didn't realize she'd been carrying. Judge Judy gathers the paperwork into a single, organized stack. Very well, she says. The court will outline formal consequences. The gavel hasn't struck yet, but everyone can feel it coming. Judge Judy lifts the final document. Miss Monroe, before I deliver the court's decision, there is one more thing you must hear. Alyssa steels herself, because the truth is not finished with her yet. The courtroom is no longer a battlefield. It feels like a quiet room holding its breath. Alyssa stands still, as if afraid any movement might shatter the fragile calm settling over her. Judge Judy lowers her gaze, preparing to speak with the gravity of someone who has seen too many turning points to underestimate this one. Alyssa's fingers curl around a tissue, her knuckles pale against its softness. She's stopped wiping her tears. She simply holds the tissue now, not to clean herself, but to anchor herself. The clerk, Ramirez, the bailiff, all of them watch her not with judgment, but with a solemn curiosity. They are witnessing a person in the moment between who she was and who she might become. Judge Judy exhales, a muted sound yet heavy with meaning. Miss Monroe, she begins, there are times when the law addresses actions and times when the heart must address what created them. Alyssa lifts her chin slightly, eyes red but focused. I want to understand something, Judy continues. You have apologized. You've acknowledged harm, but do you understand what it cost the people you hurt? Alyssa opens her mouth, then hesitates. She turns toward the clerk, the woman she once threatened without thought or remorse. Her gaze lingers there, and something inside her shifts. I scared you, Alyssa says softly. You didn't deserve that. You didn't do anything wrong. You were just doing your job, and I treated you like you didn't matter. The clerk nods, tears forming, but there is forgiveness in the set of her mouth. Alyssa continues, voice trembling but steadying with each word. I didn't see you. I only saw myself. I only saw how small I felt. I couldn't handle it, so I made you smaller. and that was cruel. Judge Judy's eyes soften, not in approval, but in recognition of genuine introspection. Ramirez steps forward, arms crossed loosely, not defensive but supportive. "Alyssa, that's the first honest thing you've said in years," he says gently. She gives him a fragile half-smile, one that flickers with vulnerability. "I'm tired," she whispers. "Tired of acting like I'm untouchable. Tired of pretending I don't need help." Judy nods. Growth starts where excuses end. Alyssa looks at her hands, hands that once pointed, shoved, accused. Now they tremble with the gravity of accountability. "I want to change," she says. "I just don't know how." "The first step," Judy replies, "is accepting that change requires discomfort. It requires humility, and it requires consequence." Alyssa nods slowly, absorbing this. She isn't resisting anymore. She isn't posturing. She isn't running. For the first time in the entire proceeding, she is listening. Judy turns toward Ramirez. There are departmental reviews to conduct. There are policies that must be upheld. Her father will answer for his part. Alyssa closes her eyes as the words sink in. A pulse of guilt sweeps across her features. "I never wanted to drag him down with me," she murmurs. "You didn't," Judy replies. "His choices created his consequences. Yours created yours." Alyssa breathes out shakily, accepting, not fighting. "Miss Monroe," Judy says, lifting the final document, "I will now deliver my judgment." The room falls silent. The moment is here. Alyssa straightens, bracing herself with the last of her courage. The gavel hovers above the bench, and the courtroom waits for the sound that will define her future. Before the verdict lands, tell me, do you believe people truly change from within, or only when consequences force them to? The gavel hangs suspended like the final beat of a dying heartbeat. Alyssa inhales sharply, one last breath before the world reshapes around her. Judge Judy lowers her gaze, and justice begins to speak. The courtroom is silent. Even the hum of the lights seems to fade as Judge Judy settles her hands on the bench. Alyssa stands straighter, though her knees quiver, and her tissue is now twisted into a fragile knot in her fingers. She looks smaller, yes, vulnerable, exposed, but also unmistakably present in a way she hasn't been for years. The room waits, suspended between aftermath and beginning. "Miss Monroe," Judy begins, her tone crisp yet tempered. "This court has listened carefully. We have reviewed evidence, testimony, recordings, and we have witnessed your behavior in this room today." Alyssa closes her eyes for a moment, bracing herself. When she opens them again, they hold no fire, only clarity. Judy continues, "Your actions have caused harm, to the clerk, to the responding officers, to yourself, and to the reputation of your father's department." Her gaze sharpens for a single, merciless beat. "Consequences are not punishments. They are teachers." Alyssa nods, tears gathering at the corners of her eyes. "You will pay full restitution to the grocery store for damages," Judy states. "You will attend a mandatory behavioral accountability program, one that focuses on anger management and misuse of authority." A pause. "And you will complete community service in a civilian capacity, where authority is earned, not inherited." Alyssa swallows hard. I understand." Judy shifts her focus toward the clerk. "For the distress you experienced, Miss Monroe will also provide written acknowledgement of her actions, not a public statement, a personal one. Accountability is not performance." The clerk nods quietly, her hand pressed against her heart as though steadying herself. Ramirez steps forward. "Judge, the department will conduct its internal review. The chief is prepared to cooperate fully." Judy nods. "Good. Transparency serves everyone." Alyssa turns slightly toward Ramirez. Will he be okay?" Ramirez exhales. "He'll answer for his choices. You'll answer for yours. But this," he gestures gently toward the courtroom, "is where the cycle breaks." Alyssa's tears spill over. But she doesn't hide them. Not anymore. Judge Judy folds her hands. Her voice softens, not lenient, but deeply human. Miss Monroe, you have lived in the shadow of power for so long that you mistook it for your own. Today, you stood without that shield, and despite the fear, you told the truth. Alyssa's breath trembles. I was so afraid, she whispers. Afraid of being nothing. Judy shakes her head. You were never nothing. You simply needed to learn where your value comes from, and where it does not. A quiet, profound stillness settles across the courtroom. A moment of moral gravity. Finally, Judy raises the gavel. Judgment is rendered, she says. And Miss Monroe, your future begins when you leave this room. The gavel strikes, a single echoing crack that feels less like punishment and more like liberation. Alyssa exhales, a long, trembling breath, and for the first time her posture is not defensive, not arrogant, not performative. It is humble and honest, and hers. As she steps back, Ramirez moves beside her, not shielding her, but supporting her as she learns to walk without inherited power. The clerk watches her go, a soft, forgiving sadness in her eyes. Not triumph, never triumph, just understanding. And Judge Judy closes her folder with a quiet finality. In the end, arrogance collapses under truth. But from the ruins, humility can rise. If a person is willing to face themselves,